Now, it's been a few months since the release of the Snapdragon X series from Qualcomm, a new series of laptops that are based on the ARM architecture as opposed to x86. And what we're seeing is pretty good efficiency, really good battery life, and pretty good compatibility if you stick to the basics. That's been the theme throughout. But there is another variant that we haven't seen until today, and of course, ASUS is taking the reps of a brand new laptop that is running it. Actually, it's a 2-in-1 detachable. We're talking about the ASUS ProArt PZ13, a 2-in-1 Surface-like detachable that gives you the 2-in-1 functionality. Of course, you can detach the keyboard and of course the kickstand, and you can use it as a tablet, use it with a pen, of course, to take notes, and you can connect the keyboard and the kickstand to be a little bit more productive, writing out long documents, emails, and the like, spreadsheets. I think you get the drift. I got a chance to look at the PZ13 back at Computex when I went to Taipei and had a visit with ASUS regarding their new lineup here for 2024, and I came away impressed. So I have been using it for the last couple of weeks, and I gotta say it's really good. I like the value it brings. It comes in cheaper than the Surface Pro 11 that I looked at. That's the one with the OLED display, and then when you add in all those accessories and everything, the Surface Pro 11 becomes prohibitively expensive when you compare it to this. So I think you get a lot of bang for the buck. But is the Snapdragon X Plus variant that we're going to look at here today the 42100? Now it has 8 cores as opposed to the 10 cores of the previous Plus that we looked at, and it has 4 less cores than the Snapdragon X Elite, which has 12. So we're going to flesh it all out here today and really delve into this. Why I think this is a great value proposition and it brings a lot to the table. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the review of the ASUS ProArt PZ13 here for 2024. Coming up.
Now, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by ASUS. I'm not being sponsored by ASUS. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. ASUS is not getting copy approval. That means you're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit is on loan from ASUS, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. Now, I received this unit before the release of the product, which is being released here today, so I will leave updated information regarding pricing. But from what I understand, Best Buy will have an exclusive to this, and they will carry one SKU, and that comes in at $1,099. And once that link is available to Best Buy, I will leave it in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. You know the drill, folks. Let's get this out of the box. Okay, right off the bat, looks like we get a backpack once again. We saw that with the 16-inch version, and of course, that was the ProArt P16. This is the PZ13. Of course, this one is a Surface-like device, detachable 2-in-1. Okay, so it looks like we get some pretty nice material here, ballistic type material, has ProArt branding. It's pretty nice. Now, I don't know, depending on the SKU you get, whether you get it or not. I know this is an exclusive at Best Buy initially, so I will leave links for everything in the description below. Hopefully, they'll give you the backpack. That would be really nice, but again, I have no way to know until retail is shipping. Let's take a look at the power charger and see what they give you here. So, interesting. Wow, I haven't seen this before. This is an adapter, a micro SD card adapter to full SD card. I like that. And then we get your charger here. Now, for some reason, it looks like I have a European charger and a US charger. I'm not sure what's going on. Again, maybe this is a review unit, so they don't distinguish between the two, so they give you 2 chargers. So this one, of course, is a 65-watt USB Type-C. We've seen this one before. And then the European one, which is the same 65 watts. Let's see what else. I think that's it. Okay, no pen or anything like that, but I probably have a pen lying around here. Okay, so this says where your story begins. So let's take out the unit. Wow. So right off the bat, this is feeling super thin, okay? A little bit of heft on it, but we'll get a measurement of the weight. And then, of course, we should get the keyboard cover and all the other things that need to go on this. This is the keyboard. Wow, this is pretty nice. So you can see it here. And this will have some gestures you can do on this, and it says please remove the sticker before using the laptop. You got volume control, brightness control, so there you have it. And then there's the other part of that keyboard, which will be the back cover, the magnetic back cover here, and it's an olive green, and it does have ProArt branding on it, surface-like, and that will go on the back of the unit. So we'll get a look at all that in just a moment. So that is all the accessories with the PZ13 in the box. All right, let's take it out of the felt here, and I can tell you right away, this is a really thin device. And there it is. And I could tell you, I like this nano black texture on it, and looks pretty nice, and you can see it there. So what I'm looking at here is a very premium build, and it says ProArt branding right there, and you got a rear-facing camera over there. I don't know what that is over there, so we'll figure all that out. And then on the front, of course, we got your front-facing camera, should be IR. There are your pogo pins right there for the connection to the keyboard cover. And I guess this is to help with the back plate. So this will go back over here. Boom. And just like that, that sticks on there. And then, of course, you have a Surface device, right? So we've seen this on that Surface Pro 11 we took a look at. And this is the keyboard. So this would attach magnetically here. Boom. And there you go. You have your Surface device. And the kickstand, by the way, back cover on, secured magnetically. It's pretty secure, pretty nice. So with just the tablet alone, without any back cover or the keyboard, you're looking at 0.865 kilograms, which comes out to 1 pound, 14.5 ounces. So pretty light in itself alone. Now, if we attach the back cover, we're looking at 1.137 kilograms, and that is 2 pounds, 8.1 ounces. And then, of course, if we put it with the keyboard cover attached with the back cover, let's see here, 1.503 kilograms, and that is 3 pounds, 5.0 ounces. So 3 pounds, 5 ounces all in. Now, travel weight with everything here, you're looking at 3 pounds, 12.8 ounces. And if we put it back into kilograms, that's a total travel weight of 1.723 kilograms. Okay, let's check out the port selection. On the top is your power button, and then moving over to the left side is going to be the place where all the ports are located. Under that latch, you get your first of 2 USB Type-C 4.0 ports, and good to see a full-size SD card reader, and the cards sit flush with the unit. You got to love that, and they do give you that adapter in the box. And then next to that is your second USB Type-C 4.0 port that will give you full functionality, and I was able to use my Brent SSD drive. It's a Thunderbolt drive, and it worked perfectly fine. And on the right side are your volume buttons up and down. And the most notable port missing is your headphone jack. You don't get one here, and that's a bit disappointing, to be honest. You also don't get a USB Type A or an HDMI, but that's to be expected on this type of a device. But not having the headphone jack, that's a big miss in my opinion. All right, let's talk about the star of the show, and that would be its gorgeous Lumina OLED display. Like the PX13 that we looked at, this has a 13.3-inch display with a 2880 by 1800 resolution. That means it's a 16:10 aspect ratio. It's an HDR display with True Black 500. It gets pretty bright here. I measured 368 nits standard dynamic range and can peak up nearly 600 nits in HDR. I actually measured 585. Now, when it comes to the coverage of the color gamut, it's covered here 100% sRGB, 95% Adobe RGB, 100% of the DCI P3 wide color gamut. So everything is looking great. You get the really high contrast, the deep blacks, the vibrant colors. Everything here just pops with this OLED display. But there's one big problem that is plaguing the ProArt series in general, and that is the lack of a high refresh rate option. Now, just like the PX13, the P16 that we looked at, this also has a 60 hertz refresh rate. What does that mean? Well, you don't get that extra smooth experience, that really smooth, fluid experience you get with a 120 hertz, say, or even 90 hertz. Here, you're limited to the 60 hertz, But I guess for some people that are doing content creation, it might not be a big deal, but playing games on it will be something you'll notice. It won't be quite as smooth. And it's just nicer to navigate the OS with a smoother 120 hertz than a 60 hertz. Now, that being said, it's still an excellent display, and I highly recommend it. It's got a nice touch layer on it. Obviously, it has pen support, so if you want to take notes, sketch out artwork, it worked well. Now, I use the HP Tilt pen here, but of course, you can opt for the ASUS Pen 2.0. They didn't send one over, but I've used them in the past, and they're quite good for taking down notes and, of course, sketching out artwork and the like. To me, this type of detachable 2-in-1 is not very useful unless you get the keyboard. And I love the fact that they do include the keyboard and the kickstand at no additional cost. It'll be in the box when you buy it. And unlike the Surface Pro 11, where you have to buy all the very expensive accessories separate, that really adds to the cost. So you're getting a better value proposition with the PZ13. Now, that being said, the keyboard on it is a very good layout in terms of the keyboard. They're chiclet style keys, has good tactility, good key travel, and overall good feedback. So typing on it has been very good. There's a Copilot key if you want to use the Copilot functionality. And of course, typing out long documents, emails, and the like has worked out really well. It's got a multi-stage backlight that really worked well against the dark keys, so you can get work done in a dark room. And as far as the touchpad is concerned, that was a nicely sized touchpad. As far as scrolling, doing all the gestures, everything works as you'd expect. It was very responsive. So overall, a very good experience when it comes to this keyboard cover. Now, one nitpick here that you get on the Surface Pro 11 that you don't get here is you can't angle up the keyboard like you could for a raised typing angle. That would have been even better. And a couple other points, I would like to be able to store and charge the pen like you can on the Surface Pro 11 within the keyboard itself. You can't do that. Instead, you'll have to rely on the loop on that back cover. And as far as using the keyboard detached, that was one of the big things I liked out of that Pro Flex keyboard, although that comes in at $450 with the bundled pen. That is a lot of money to pay, so I can't really fault ASUS for not doing that. But having a battery in the keyboard cover would make it a little bit more versatile and a little bit more useful.
So this is the front-facing camera on the ASUS ProArt PZ13. You're looking at 1440p video here. This is an IR camera that allows you to log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. Worked pretty well. It's got all the studio effects handled by the NPU. This is a Copilot Plus PC with 45 tops, all that jazz. But of course, we've seen it before. I don't need to go over it. Background blur, auto framing, all that stuff handled by the NPU. What do you think about the video quality? And what do you think about the audio quality? Let me know in the comments section below.
Okay, let's talk about performance. And we got a new chipset here. It's the Snapdragon X Plus, the X1P 42100. This is a little different. This has 8 cores as opposed to the 10 cores we saw on that 64100. Certainly doesn't have the 12 cores we saw on the X Elite processor that we looked at on the Surface Pro 11. But that being said, if we look at the single core versus the Surface Pro 11, it is pretty good actually, 2405 versus the 2849. And of course, the multi-core will not be quite as good. With these extra 4 cores, you're going to get better performance out of that Surface Pro 11. But that being said, doing everyday tasks such as Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, everything worked very well. And again, if you stick to the ARM-based apps that are native, you're going to have a very good experience. Now, one thing you'll note here is the difference in price. That Surface Pro 11 with the OLED display starts at $1499 and goes up from there, and doesn't even include any of the accessories. This gives you at least the keyboard cover and the kickstand part all included at $1,100. So that's a big price difference and a big value here, better than the Surface Pro 11. Now, when we looked at Cinebench 2024, more of the same. Single core 108, 653 multi-core, very good, but not quite as good as that Surface Pro 11. Now, when it comes to the 3D Mark and the graphics here, the Qualcomm Adreno, the X145 GPU that it employs here is not great. And as you can see, a score of 310. Now, keep in mind, the Time Spy is being done in emulation via the Prism, but of course, it's still not as good as the Surface Pro 11, which did a lot better on that same test. It was also emulating that Time Spy. And the same can go for the Firestrike score as well. And when I took a look at the Wildlife Extreme, which is running natively on ARM, you can see not great score, 1792, but what's more concerning is that 10.73 frames per second, which is not very good. So the graphics here is not going to make you want to go out and buy this for gaming only. Obviously, if you stick to the basics of Microsoft Office, email, web browsing that are native to ARM, you're going to have a very good experience. Where you're going to run into trouble is you're going to have some compatibility issues on certain x86 apps, and of course, graphics are not the strong suit here. That is for sure. And when I ran the Time Spy stress test to see if this will thermal throttle under heavy load, it didn't get a passing score. In fact, it got a score of 67.3%, showing that there was thermal throttling detected when put under heavy load. Now, when it comes to the surface temperatures, when put under heavy load, it never got overly hot. So it stayed relatively cool throughout on the front of the unit where the display is, and of course on the back of the unit, never getting too hot to the touch. So it stayed relatively cool, which is what we like to see. Now, one thing you will notice is fan noise that will only come on when you're pushing this under heavy load. It can reach as high as 46, almost 47 decibels, which is quite noticeable. However, that is only when you're pushing this under heavy load, which is those rare occasions. When you're doing your everyday tasks like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, the fan noise was not an issue at all. It stayed relatively quiet. But where this device really shines, and it's no surprise here, is battery life. Now, the video playback on that PC Mark X test that I did got 20 hours and 34 minutes. Now, keep in mind, this is an OLED display. It is run at 60 hertz, but when I looked at the Surface Pro 11, also with an OLED display, that did 12 hours and 28 minutes, which is a lot less. That had a smaller battery. This is a 70 watt-hour battery. That is a 53 watt-hour battery for that OLED variant, but that was run at 120 hertz, so expect a little bit better battery life if you bump it down to 60 hertz. But that being said, this is still a far superior device when it comes to longevity in terms of that battery life. And this placed second among the Copilot Plus PCs since their launch that I've been checking out. So this did 20 hours and 34 minutes, shy of the 27 hours and 44 minutes I got on that Dell XPS 139345, which is the battery king as it stands. But this certainly is an excellent device when it comes to longevity and when it comes to battery life. And I think it goes without saying, everybody's use case is a little bit different. So you may get a different result than I did, but at least we have a standardized test that I can run on all the different devices here. So that is the result here for this unit. Okay, now as far as speakers are concerned, the PZ13 sports stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos. So you might be asking, well, what's the big deal about Dolby Atmos? It is a big deal. It helps with the spatial audio. The overall volume is good. The mids are good. The bass is good. Pretty good for a 2-in-1. I got to say, good job here on the sound. But of course, I want you to hear it. So let's give it a listen. Okay, let's bring it all home. And what do I think about the ASUS ProArt PZ13 here for 2024? And there's a lot to like here for the most part, but of course it's not perfect. Let's get into what I do like. I like its 3K OLED touch display with the pen support. Good single multi-core performance, especially when you stick to the ARM native apps. Keyboard and kickstand accessory included, so you don't have to worry about purchasing those very expensive accessories you'd have to get with the Surface Pro 11. Very good webcam here. Very good that we have a full-size SD card reader, especially if you're doing content creation. That's a big boon here, like that. Runs cool and quiet for everyday tasks, and it does have Wi-Fi 7, which is going to make it a bit more future-proof. It's got some powerful speakers in terms of the audio, and I like the 20-plus hours of video playback that I was able to get on the PC Mark X battery test that I was able to run on this. That's pretty phenomenal. But of course, it's not perfect. There are some things I would like them to change, of course. This is only a 60 hertz refresh rate, and with a have been a lot better for 120 hertz and be more competitive, I think, with that Surface Pro 11 with the OLED display. But of course, we're limited here to 60 hertz. RAM is not upgradable. There's no haptic touchpad like you'd get on that Surface Pro cover, although that is more expensive, of course. Display is on the glossy side. The fan noise is noticeable under heavy load, although when you're running this in everyday tasks, the fan noise was not an issue at all. Keyboard does not give a raised typing angle. That's another differentiator here. And there's no headphone jack, which is a big no-no in my book. I still want to see a headphone jack. No reason they couldn't put one on here. And again, overall, this is a very good product. I think you're getting a lot of more bang for the buck than you would on a Surface Pro 11. You're getting the keyboard and you're getting that kickstand at no additional cost. It's included at a very competitive $1,100. But of course, there are some limitations like we talked about, compatibility issues and so forth. The graphics are not going to be quite as good. So just keep that in mind in terms of Snapdragon in general, and especially with this X1 Plus processor. But overall, I think ASUS did a very good job here making a very nice competitive 2-in-1 detachable that will compete with the likes of a Surface Pro 11 and come in at a lot less money. I highly recommend it here for 2024.
So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget to check out my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.